you've got questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity this afternoon at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Who will get the last laugh, Trump or the assembled heads of state at the United Nations General Assembly? Let me tell you something. His 35-minute speech, his address to the UN General Assembly was quite strong. Talk about speaking truth to the community of nations. I thought the best part was sort of a 2-minute foray in the middle that nicely explained the first principles associated with his foreign policy construct, the handle of which is principled realism. Trump on American sovereignty.
As my administration has demonstrated, America will always act in our national interests. I spoke before this body last year and warned that the UN Human Rights Council had become a grave embarrassment to this institution, shielding egregious human rights abusers while bashing America and its many friends. Our ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, laid out a clear agenda for reform, but despite reported and repeated warnings, no action at all was taken. So the United States took the only responsible course. We withdrew from the Human Rights Council, and we will not return until real reform is enacted. For similar reasons, the United States will provide no support in recognition to the International Criminal Court. As far as America is concerned, the ICC has no jurisdiction, no legitimacy, and no authority. The ICC claims near universal jurisdiction over the citizens of every country, violating all principles of justice, fairness, and due process. We will never surrender America's sovereignty to an unelected, unaccountable global bureaucracy. America is governed by Americans. We reject the ideology of globalism, and we embrace the doctrine of patriotism.
America is governed by Americans. Nobody was laughing then.
No, they were not. And he did a great job talking about foreign aid. You know, we bailed you countries out, and you've never reciprocated. But of course,
the Human Rights Commission, the ICC, I love it. I love him putting it right between their eyes. But his braggadocio got a different reaction.
Yeah.
My administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
I mean, he handled it well
Yeah.
once they started laughing. But you just see this wave of people laughing, you know. But he was braggadocious, and I thought,
Sure.
But that's Trump. I mean,
Yeah.
that's him.
Nothing like getting laughed at by Burma. Okay. Who will have the last laugh? For more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by... Thank you very much.
Or New Zealand's prime minister holding her 3-month-old baby. She was laughing, too.
Chief economist for CNN, Steve Moore, joins us now. Steve, nobody is laughing. I mean, it's sort of, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me, I mean, I'm sort of a sucker for these talent shows. I love America's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Susan Boyle performance where she came out and
Looking all
saying,
frumpy.
right, saying I dreamed a dream and knocked the place over. They laughed when she came out. They weren't laughing when she left, and that's sort of how I felt with Trump yesterday.
You know, I've waited. That was a great segment you just played, and I've waited about 40 years for a president to say that. I mean, even Ronald Reagan, who I adore, even he didn't, take it right to the United Nations. This was Trump is exactly right that the mission of the American president should be to put America first. I mean, why is the left so insulted by that? Of course, a president should put America first. It's so interesting, too, the contrast between the way Trump deals with these, very uppity and arrogant foreign institutions like the United Nations, and the way Obama did. I mean, Obama bowed down to these people. They loved Obama. I mean, they gave Obama standing ovations because he was the one who paid the bills. He was the one who said, whatever your problem is, we'll send you a check. You know what? The United States is no longer the ATM machine for the rest of the world, and it's about time.
And that clear message was sent definitely by President Trump. But what do you believe?
That's for sure.
Yeah. How do you think about our stance with Iran? Because that was our mortal enemy yesterday.
Well, I don't have a strong opinion about that. I think that obviously Iran is an enemy of the United States, and that's the thing about Trump. He doesn't pussyfoot around.
No, he does not.
He calls enemies enemies, and it's about time we have that. But look, the big struggle right now, much more important than Iran, is China, right? Mm-hmm. And we are locked into a kind of trade combat with China, and I think that's going to have, in terms of what happens with the U.S. On the global geopolitical situation over the next 5, 10, 20, 50 years, that's what's really going to matter, is whether the United States can stand up to China and whether China will stand down here.
Well, let's talk about the economic portion of the program, his speech, where he touted the U.S.-Mexico trade agreement, the U.S.-South Korea trade deal. He also said many nations in this hall will agree the world trading system is in dire need of change. And he talked about countries admitted to the WTO that violate every principle upon which the organ is based. And then he got specific about about United States, Illinois being one of those states. I just saw the 3 million manufacturing jobs lost, and I immediately thought Illinois. I don't know why. So he mentioned China in the context of losing 3 million manufacturing jobs, quarter steel jobs, 60,000 factories since China has joined the WTO. How did you take his trade talk portion of his address?
Well, look, I mean, Trump is more of a kind of protectionist in his orientation than I am. I'm obviously more of a Milton Friedman free trade guy, although I think Trump has some very legitimate points here. I mean, one of the things is, I think the WTO is just a joke. I mean, it's like the United Nations of trade, policy, and it doesn't do anything, right? And so, the big joke is that China is now threatening to take the United States to the WTO to complain about these terrorists, when how long have they been in the WTO now? About 20 years or something like that. All that they've done since the day they entered the WTO is break every single trade rule. I mean, they impose the by far the highest tariffs. It's almost impossible for American companies to do business over there. We sell them about $140 billion worth of stuff. They sell us $500 billion. So, I mean, it's a lopsided trade arrangement. And they don't, it's just a joke to say, well, we're going to protest your trade policies against us. Look, Trump has to prevail here, and I don't think he's going to stand down when it comes to China. And the fact is, China is a big problem. Not just with respect to the trade practices, but let's be honest. North Korea would not have a nuclear weapon today if it were not for China.
True, but how soon till consumers start feeling the pinch from this?
They will. You're right about that. I mean, Amy, I cannot deny that. You go to Walmart, you're going to pay more for stuff now. I mean, tariffs are taxes. We've said this many times. I mean, and the question is whether the American people are going to side with Trump on this, or it's interesting to me, by the way, that the strategy of the Chinese is to try to impose a lot of tariffs on American farm goods, our wheat and our cotton and our corn and soybeans. And it's interesting that there's an ad. I don't know if you guys have seen it in North Dakota, because we got a big Senate race in North Dakota where Heidi Heitkamp, the Democrat, has an ad where she's standing next to a farmer who's in the middle of the field saying, these tariffs are killing us, and we're not able to sell our wheat here in North Dakota. My feeling is, look, if we're going to do this and go forward with this, then every dollar that's raised in the tariffs, let's make sure that goes to the people who are being hurt by the terrorists. But look, I just don't think we can back down right now. I mean, if we do, this is a good time to pick a fight with China. We've got a booming economy. Their economy is reeling right now.
But how is the question, and then how to get to a better place, that lower tariff environment that we aspire to find.
I've asked this to you before on this show, and I'll ask you guys both this again. If they were not going to do it through punitive tariffs, how are we going to get China to start, behaving itself?
Well,
and if you could come up with a better answer, I'm all ears.
Well, let me ask you this question. I ask the questions on this show.
Yeah. Wow.
I
Pipe it down.
This is what Trump said in directing his comments to China. I have great respect and affection for my friend President Xi, but I've made clear our trade imbalance is just not acceptable. China's market distortions and the way they deal cannot be tolerated. Strategically, I know that's probably good for domestic political interests, but is that something Larry Kudlow and the team think is smart in terms of a global address to the UN, or should these conversations mainly take place behind closed doors?
Well, look, I think it was appropriate for Trump to call out China. I mean, the only way we're going to win here is we need the whole world on our side. We need Germany on our side. We need Canada on our side. We need Mexico on our side. We need Australia and Japan on our side to say, look, to point to them and say, you're the bad actor. You're not playing by the rules. The global trading system is actually being disrupted by many of the abusive tactics that China is putting in place. I mean, look, I talked to executives, Dan and Amy, from major technology companies, and they say, you try to do business over there, and the first thing they do is you got to give up your trade secrets and your patents. Then they want ownership of the company, and then, they impose all these kind of tariffs on bringing stuff in. I mean, that's not free trade. And I think what Trump would say, if he were talking to you guys right now, is, look, I'm for free trade, but those kind of practices, you can't have free trade with a country that cheats and steals. And, I'm come over to his view on that. We need, and if Trump prevails, by the way, and China does start lowering their trade barriers in the United States, we're going to get freer trade. And Milton Friedman is going to be smiling from his grave.
All right. Let me ask you.
You sound skeptical, Dan.
Well, I'll hold my powder and watch. And because Larry Kudlow's there, I'm giving you wide berth, but I'm getting skeptical. Here, I want to ask you. I want to use this locally, and maybe this is something that we could factor into some type of trade negotiation with China. Maybe we could turn over Elon Musk to be put into a Chinese gulag. Musk, he has a plan. I don't know if you're aware of this. He had many plans. Not blowtorch, but the fire thing.
What's fire extinguisher?
No, that shoots fire. God.
A flamethrower.
Flamethrower, thank you. Flamethrower company.
I got something right. Ding, ding, ding.
It's just like a game of password.
Did you say Jesus Sheets?
Hello.
Geyser Sheets.
Flamethrowers and the cars, the Teslas, and the bullet train. Well, sort of. He's got a 12-minute express train from the Loop to O'Hare. He's planning, and there's a new bill in. That is being bandied about in D.C. that would allow local airport authorities to use the passenger facility charge of $4.50 per seat, the ticket tax in Chicago, for transportation projects to airport properties. So like this boondoggle that Elon Musk is sold Rahm Emanuel on. And, there's no Elon Musk train without the federal gravy. My question is, should Elon Musk be imprisoned for life?
No, but you know what? He is, I don't think in the history of the United States, I may be wrong about this, but I don't think there's anyone in the history of the United States who has gotten more federal money and tax dollars from you and me than Elon Musk. I wrote a column about it 2 years ago about Elon Musk, calling him the $6 billion man, because by my calculations, SpaceX, Solar City, Tesla, all of those companies exist because of federal tax dollars. And we're just, can you believe that one person has gotten $6 billion in federal subsidies and grants and aid? I mean, now you're going to build this train that's, how much is that going to cost, by the way? I mean, how much federal, state, and city money is going to go into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a money pit. I mean, whatever they say, multiply it by 10, right?
By 10, exactly. By the way, stop, my thing on this for all cities, including Chicago, stop building public transit. In 10 years, everyone is going to have a driverless car. You're going to push a button on your phone. The car is going to come. It's going to take you anywhere you want to. It's going to go door to door. We're going to have automated light switching and so on. We're going to have much fewer accidents. I mean, the whole transportation system is going to be based on taking you where you want to go, when you want to go there, not when the government wants you to go there, where you have to walk a mile to get to a train station, and then when it drops you off, you have to walk a mile to that thing. I mean, we're literally putting down tracks all over the country that in 10 years from now we're going to have to tear them up.
But here's what I want your definitive opinion on Elon Musk. Yeah. Is he a visionary, or is he Preston Tucker? Is he Harold Hill? Because I say the latter.
I think he's a little bit of both. I mean, he's an incredible visionary. I mean, he's launching these private space, rockets and so on, which is pretty cool stuff. And I like that. Cool. I mean, I like his visionary view of the future. I just don't like the fact that we're paying for it.
Yeah, by force. Right, exactly. Steve Moore, chief economist for CNN and Wall Street Journal columnist. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a great week.
Take care.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Being successful in business means overcoming enormous obstacles to serve your customers and community. AM 560, The Answer, wants to shine a spotlight on businesses that are thriving. We want to celebrate their success by finding out what makes these businesses unique, successful, and what we can learn from them. We want to know how you built it. Presented by Chicagoland Waterproofing. To tell us how you built it, go to 560theanswer.com/built. That's 560theanswer.com/BUILT. Sponsored by Signature Bank and Ozinga.